And welcome everybody to another edition of the Cripple Connection podcast. My name is Cody Lashing. You can find me on Twitter at CodyLac, CodyLac. We're here for another episode today, and as always, I'm joined by my brethren, my partner in crime, Jeffrey Redmond. What's up, dude?
Hey, Cody, how you doing, man?
Big bright smile. That's what I love to see, man. Well, hey, we're here doing another episode. If you followed our content thus far and you like what we're doing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share with a friend, get our podcast seen by as many people as possible. And today we're going to be talking a little bit of Nintendo news, but also some Nvidia news. And Jeffrey and I have been talking a lot about the looming console war and the battle between PS5 and Xbox Series X. But really, one of the main ways that we've been framing this conversation these past few weeks is how are they going to compare to these ever-expanding, more and more powerful PC graphics and the power that they're able to generate. And Nvidia really kind of flexed their muscles a few days ago. But we're going to talk about all that stuff. But we are going to start with some Nintendo Direct. Now, my man Jeffrey is much more informed on everything that went down at the Nintendo Direct conference than me. So I'm just going to kind of let my man lead the way, and we'll just kind of react as it goes on. So,
Yeah.
Jeffrey,
So
at a brand new Nintendo Direct, what were the big kind of story events that came out of it? And also, before you start, like I said earlier, if you need me to jump around or find something in the video specifically that you want me to talk about, just let me know. But go ahead.
okay. So this is a special Nintendo Direct because it is actually Mario's 35th birthday. Jesus Christ.
Old
I
man.
can't believe that. But here you can see that they have released a special Game & Watch, which is the old consoles before the NES came out.
Right.
But it actually has like an LCD screen, and you can play the original Super Mario Brothers on it, as well as some of the older Super Mario Brothers 2. You see there. There's also some Game & Watch games, of course.
Yeah, well, also
thrown on there.
That's where Mr. Game & Watch is from.
Yep,
if you've
exactly.
ever played him in Super Smash Bros. That's the only place I've known him for. That was a little bit before my time.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he used to be the mascot of Nintendo before they found Mario.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's going to be available November 13th. Here you can see this is Super Mario 3D World. This was originally for the Wii U, but of course the Wii U is pretty much a travesty that no one ever talks about. So they've taken Super Mario 3D World, and they are gonna port it over to the Switch, which is great. I do have to wonder though if the multiplayer, because you can play with several people at once, as you can see there. I do wonder if it's completely local or if there's going to be online co-op. They didn't really talk about that very much, so that'll be interesting to see. But as someone who didn't own a Wii U, because of course I'm late to the party on all the consoles, but it's a good thing I was for this. So yeah, the Wii U didn't do well, so now they're just trying to port some stuff over. If you skip ahead a little bit, you'll see that there's going to be, and they only showed like a fraction of this, but there's going to be a new little expansion that wasn't. Oh, you can just leave it now because I think it's going to come. There's a new little expansion that wasn't in the original called Bowser's Fury. We don't know really anything about it other than the way it looks. But yeah, it's supposed to be some additional content for Super Mario 3D World, so it's always exciting. Super Mario was the first game I ever played as a kid, like ever.
Same.
So he holds a special place in my heart.
I remember being a little kid. I remember being a little kid, and my brother and his friend were playing Super Mario Brothers, and they were getting their ass kicked by this level, right? And I'm badgering them to play the whole time. But like my brother's 10 years older than me, so of course they're like, shut up. They don't want to hear shit from me. They're not gonna pass the control off to little bro. Sure enough, I get the controller in my hands and I beat the level on my first fucking try. So,
dude,
bam.
That's
yeah, and I'm like, by the way, like maybe 4 or some shit. So,
yes, dude.
Hey, you know, I'm just a prodigy, man. Not trying to brag, but no, let me stop.
No, I hear you, man. I hear you. this is Super Mario 35. If you guys are familiar with Tetris 99 on the Nintendo Switch, then you'll be very familiar with this concept. It's basically a speed run through Super Mario Brothers, and the last one standing is the winner. And every time you defeat an enemy, you send it over to someone else's screen. Much like how in Tetris, when you get a layer, you send that over there. So it's basically like this battle royale speedrun thing, which is really cool. I thought this coming up was gimmicky as shit, but it's also awesome at the same time.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this because it seems to me, okay, at first glance, it looks really cool. And it's basically like you're buying essentially what amounts to a little RC car that you're going to be able to control with your Nintendo Switch. And it's an augmented reality. So there's a camera on the little RC Mario thing. And in my mind, like whenever Nintendo has tried to incorporate peripherals, like actual tangible products, in my mind, maybe someone else can kind of tell me where I'm wrong here, but it never ends up going well. Like I feel like, if you remember the original little robot whose name escapes me that came with the original Nintendo, like they've tried stuff. Yeah, Rob. They've tried stuff like this before, and I'm not making a one-on-one comparison between those two things, but I don't know. It seems fun enough. It seems like they're really pushing the augmented reality version of this. Jeffrey, what do you think?
I think, like I said, it's gimmicky as shit, but I think it's a great idea if it works. Now, the one thing, or the thing that's really cool is that you can literally like build your own track. As you saw, the kid like put, the little checkpoints in different places, so you can drive it around your house, which is really cool. I would worry about this on anything other than a hardwood floor. So if you had carpet all through your house, I don't know how good that would work.
Yeah,
because back in my day, because I loved RC cars and shit, back in my day, they would get stuck all the time. Either stuck or they would flip over or some stupid shit. So it does make me wonder about, how that's going to work. But I think it's a great idea. And if it works, badass. But yeah, I think it's a great idea. This is just talking about
and I don't know if you were on the what's this one called again? Mario the racing thing.
I don't even think they have a name for it yet, do they? They just kind of see, it's just a question mark, and I don't even.
My question is, are you going to be able to do this with friends online? So, for example, would there be any way that, okay, if I had the Mario and the Luigi and all the different carts, could you, like from a different location, play multiplayer with me and play as one of those other racers? Or is it something that you have to be
I don't see how that would work, because it goes directly off of, the cameras and your current car's location. So, like, I don't even know, how that would work.
Right,
you
but
would
I'm
all
saying,
have to
like,
be in the same
if
room.
I had Mario and Luigi, and you and I started to do co-op, could you look through my Luigi and like play? Let's say I set up the course and everything at my house. Mm-hmm. Could you play from a different location, or do you have to be there? Or
I would think you'd have to be there, because it goes off the camera, right? So like, unless there's some way to do like speed trials where you all are running separate courses, but you try to beat each other in terms of time. Maybe that's a thing. But I would imagine in order to play the same course, you would have to be in the same room. Okay. I would assume.
Yeah. We'll have to look into some more of that. I mean, I think you're probably right. But it just seems to me like if you had a Nintendo Switch, because you're talking about the camera on the car or on the Switch itself?
No, on the car.
Right. That's why I'm saying.
It's like literally mapping your room as you're going. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know how that works exactly. I would assume you'd have to be in the same room, because if you didn't, I would imagine that would have been a point here, and they didn't talk about that. So that makes me think online is not a thing for this particular peripheral.
And it is its own Mario Kart Live Home Circuit.
Live Home Circuit. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I won't buy it because, I mean, it's $99 per car. So,
good Lord.
Yeah. So this is Mario Kart Tour. This is that dumbass cell phone game that they have. We're going to skip past that. They have a lot of merch coming out,
Mm.
obviously. There's going to be a brand new speedrun level in Super Mario Maker 2. We have an upcoming Super Smash Brothers tournament, of course. Of course, with all the shit going on there that we've already covered. I don't know
Yeah.
how many people are going to be in it, but they're going to have an event with Splatoon, which I don't play, but there's
Yeah.
all
Never have
keychains and shit,
shirts.
shirts, you know, um, new furniture and Animal Crossing, if that's your thing. I don't play Animal Crossing either, so um,
I don't even have a Nintendo Switch, but
there's
you know
there's
it
a
is. It
there's
is.
brand new shoes, which is
Yeah. Hey,
kind of
cool
neat.
shoes. But you mentioned earlier when we were showing. I believe it was. What was this game that came out for the Wii U? The Super
The
Mario 3D
Super Mario
World.
3D
Yeah,
World,
so
yeah,
like watching that, and this has kind of been a trend for me, and watching these press conferences and all these different games, is that as I'm getting older, I'm looking for new kinds of experiences, but
right,
also something that's just simple fun. Like before,
right.
maybe when I was a teenager, you want to play stuff that's like Devil May Cry and God of War, edgy and
Mhm.
violent, and of course, who doesn't like that kind of shit? But also, now that I'm getting older, like stuff like this is even more appealing to me. So
Yeah,
yeah,
so
just to be
this
able
was
to
really
take a
cool, and
load
this is
off. Yeah.
probably one of the biggest things here is if you go back a bit, that was Super Mario All Stars, which was released for the Super Nintendo. Originally, it had Mario 1, 2, 3, and the Lost Levels, which is actually the Japanese number two. But I don't want to get
Right.
into that whole
Yeah,
debate and
there's a whole
debacle.
thing.
But
There's a bunch
but
of
um
videos on it. Look it up if you
but
don't know.
Right, right. There's plenty of them on YouTube, but yeah, this was really so. If you have a Nintendo Switch online account, which you should, it's only $20 a year. You get access to various Nintendo and Super Nintendo games, and they re-released this yesterday. So yeah, I've been playing through that. I actually managed to get through the original Mario Brothers in under an hour, which
Yeah.
for me is like amazing. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. Of course, the big announcement, of course, is this coming up. There were a lot of leaks online, so I'm sure a lot of people already know. But ever since Nintendo started implementing that stuff, people have been wanting like an N64 section for N64 games, and GameCube games and all kinds of stuff. Much like how they did on the Wii with the Virtual Console. But this here is Super Mario 3D All Stars, and this entails Mario 64, which you just saw. This is Super Mario Sunshine, and then you're going to see in a minute. You're going to see Super Mario Galaxy 1. Um, as someone, and I'm a terrible Nintendo fan, let me tell you, as someone who never owned a GameCube, um, this is or a 64 for that matter. I never owned an N64.
Oh,
I
really?
knew people Yeah, I knew people who had one, and I played it quite a lot, but I myself didn't own one. So to be able to play Super Mario 64 and Sunshine, which would be a brand new experience for me because I've never played Sunshine.
Yeah.
uh, I did own a Wii, but as you guys may guess, it had to use the nunchuck and the remote. And of course, with my limited mobility, I wasn't able to play many games on the Wii, even though I owned one. So this is going to give me the chance to play Super Mario Galaxy properly with a controller,
Yeah.
which is going to be awesome. Um, this is something people have been asking for basically since the Switch came out. Uh, they're not going to do any major overhauls with this. They managed to say that I think it's all going to be like in 16 by 9, like
Yeah.
widescreen ratio, but I don't expect like major graphical upgrades. But for something like this, I wouldn't want to. I want to experience it as raw and as polygon ridden as it may be. I think that's
Well, that's part of the nostalgia of it too.
part of the
Like,
nostalgia,
yeah, I
exactly.
mean, going back and playing old video games, part of the fun is looking at it and being like, "Whoa, I used to think this was cutting edge graphics. Like this was the
Yep.
shit back in the day." And I just
Yep.
want to say, for starters, like dude, for me growing up, when I was a kid, I was in and out of the hospital like all the time with bouts
Mhm.
of pneumonia and just going through
Me
it.
too.
I mean, I would miss just long periods of school just being in the hospital. And
Mhm.
games like Super Mario 64, oh my god, they were a lifesaver because it took your mind off of it. Like every once in a while, you could ask the nurses to try and find a video game machine and see if you can have a turn and bring it in. And man, I remember playing Super Mario 64. Like that's one of those games that like, even though it brought me back to a bad time in my life and I was very sick, like that game specifically, like it helped me forget how fucking terrible I felt. You know, like I was on the brink of death, and I love those games, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I never, I played a little bit of Sunshine, and then I never played Galaxy, but I know that those were two of the highest reviewed games that there have ever been for Mario. So I
Yeah.
know that they were very important to the company, and listen, it's Mario. I mean,
Right.
you're talking about not only the most famous video game character of all time, but someone who still is, oddly enough, just as relevant today as he ever was. And just like I said that then Super Mario 64 was an important game for me growing up, it was to so many more people. And these are like, if there were a video game Hall of Fame or a video game Hall of Fame, it would absolutely be a part of it. We're talking about a legendary video game, and the fact that now, again, another thing that to reiterate that we mentioned before is now people have kids, and now their
Yeah.
kids get to be reintroduced to these games, and you get to see if your son or daughter is able to figure out the puzzle faster than you did when you were a kid.
Right.
Like you're able
Exactly.
to have different experiences with this than people have ever had before. So it's cool, man. I'm happy that they're
Yeah.
doing this. This was definitely big news when it was released.
Yeah. I do have two complaints about that particular collection. However,
Mr. Debbie Downer. No, I'm playing. Go ahead.
well, no, but I gotta mention them because
Yeah.
they are kind of a thing.
No, I'm just joking. Go
The
ahead.
first one is where's Super Mario Galaxy 2? Just saying.
Mhm.
It seems weird to put one and not two, especially since a lot of people prefer two to one. So that's a concern. And my other concern is oh, so it's a limited release. And when I say limited release, it's only available for a short amount of time. So if you want this game in any format, whether it be physical or digital, you need to get it ASAP. Because I think, from what I remember hearing, by next year it's going to be taken off the market completely. So it's a limited run. So
Smart. What a smart
so-
move, huh? I mean, an
so-
obvious cash grab, but also smart.
yeah, so I would say if if you really really want to play this game, which you should, honestly, you need to get your copy now. I reserved mine on Amazon the instant I went down. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind. And it's also $60, which I found a little too high.
So which one is $60?
The
for
3D
arcade
All
one?
Stars with the 3 games in it. It's $60, and I'm like, really? I mean-
I mean, I guess I kind of understand it because you're getting three games that were at one point in time full price. They're legendary games. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice to. But again, if they're doing it on a limited time,
Yeah,
a limited availability to be able to buy it, then it's a cash grab. And
Right,
again,
it is.
Nintendo kind of does this a lot, and it brings me to one of my critiques of Nintendo, which it doesn't even bother them because it's always been a problem for them.
Right.
A lot of the games that we're excited about, that we get real pumped up about, they're not for a Nintendo console. And they're not going to come out on Nintendo console unless some company puts a ton of time and development into porting this game over to Nintendo games or Nintendo consoles, which is notoriously difficult because the Nintendo consoles are always far more underpowered compared to Sony and Microsoft and their
Right.
consoles. So you know, you're buying Nintendo for the Nintendo games because you're not
Exactly.
gonna get Mario anywhere else. You're not gonna get Donkey Kong and Luigi and all these other
And
characters and
Zelda and all
Kirby
that.
and
Yeah.
Zelda. You are buying Nintendo for the specific experiences that Nintendo gives you. So,
Yeah.
you know, when they have an opportunity to make a lot of money like that off their own titles, they're gonna do it, and
Right.
this is also a nostalgia grab. Like I
It
just
is.
said, many people like myself grew up with games like this. So, you know, they're playing on that and doing it a limited time thing makes it more special. And you know, it is a cash grab, and you have to decide whether or not it's worth it for yourself. But for a lot of people, it's worth it. So why wouldn't Nintendo do it?
Right. Um, yeah, I mean that, and they just like being able to repackage their stuff. But there's talk of a Nintendo Switch Pro coming out,
Oh wow.
makes me which makes me cringe. It's not confirmed yet, but basically, there's stuff going around, kind of like how they did with the 3DS, how they had the new 3DS. I just hope it doesn't infringe on the people that have an older Switch. Like with the 3DS, they had it where the newer games could only be played on the more powerful system. I hope Nintendo doesn't alienate the people who bought the original, because I don't want to have to upgrade. I just bought my Switch a year ago, so that would seem really crappy to me if all of a sudden I needed to get a more powerful system. But that's for down the line. I thought I would just casually
Yeah,
mention
and
that.
also even on the PlayStation, you're still able to buy all the games for every console. It's
Right.
just they're gonna look better and be you're gonna see what the game is capable of on a PS4 Pro. But
Mhm.
I don't know that again that you know it doesn't surprise me. I don't think Nintendo is ever gonna get to a point where they're trying to make games that are meant to rival Sony and Microsoft. Like this is their
Right.
lane. They know it's their lane. They're good at their lane. This is what they're gonna continue to do. And I don't necessarily blame them for it because they do it so well. Like they're able to reach into their bag of tricks and kind of rehash some of the same things.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, people are buying it, and people want to play Mario. So again, I don't blame them for how they do business. Like we were talking about with the Nintendo leak that happened a few weeks ago. Is like I don't blame them for keeping all their development information close to the vest. They're a private company. They're allowed to have their own secrets. And I don't think we're ever going to see a time when you're going to see The Last of Us and all these
Oh no,
incredibly
never.
beautiful
Yeah.
games. You're not going to see that kind of content on a Nintendo console, and we know that, and Nintendo knows that, and everybody's just kind of resigned themselves to it, and that's
Yeah.
fine, you know.
Yeah. That's something that's been going on since the very beginning, though, because even during the console wars of Nintendo and Sega, Sega was generally at least the Genesis was the more powerful console. And here is a 8-bit system, coming along and trying to compete. So Nintendo has always been kind of under the curve when it comes to technology, but like you said, it doesn't really matter in the end. You come to
Yeah.
the experiences. So, yeah, they know what they're doing. But yeah, so I thought that was really cool. Happy birthday to Super Mario.
Happy birthday,
It's freaking
35
awesome.
years old, man.
Yeah, man.
It's weird because it feels like he's a lot older than that. Even
I know.
I'm 30 years old. He's older than me by half a decade, 5 years.
Yeah, he's older than me by 2, so it's like, damn,
Yeah,
I feel old now.
yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but Jeffrey, we have one more thing to talk about, and again, this
Yeah,
video isn't as intuitive as the Nintendo Direct. We're kind of going to be just letting it play as we talk about it here. But Nvidia just recently held a press conference, and they, it was kind of being, mentioned that these new consoles were going to be on par with the power of a computer. And I guess that was kind of true up until a point. It still wasn't really true, but there's been a big enough jump in consoles to bridge the gap between what is available now. But Nvidia just said, fuck all that dumb shit you heard, and they have basically just changed the game a little bit by putting out what they're going to be doing going forward with these NX30 chips, or RTX 30 series, which is, I mean, sounding pretty incredible with what they're going to be able to do and how they're going to be able to do it. So, Jeffrey, I'll kind of let you, talk about what you know, and then we'll kind of talk about what it means.
Okay, so without getting in too technical, because I could sit here and talk about teraflops and all the hardware shit all day long, but nobody's going to understand really any of that unless you're a nerd. So we'll try to keep
teraflops just do it for me.
Exactly. So I'll try to simplify this. So as you were saying, the newer consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, are generally going to be as strong as probably a computer is today. Probably a mid-level computer. We're not talking like high-end, but the consoles are supposed to be able to do 4K at 60, or at least 4K at 30 at minimum. These new graphics cards, however, for the computer are going to push that even further. So what we're having on a mainstream computer now, if you put in one of these chips, they're saying, I believe the highest end, which is the 3090, should be able to do 8K at 60. Now, I will believe that when I see it. I still think 8K is in its infancy. So I think even if people buy this card, they're not going to have the capacity in their computers to even handle this. I mean, you would have to build a brand new rig. Not to mention, I believe the 3090 is like $1,500. So just for the card, which is ridiculous. But the lower end card, the 30, is going to be about $500. So you're still going to be able to take advantage of this, but if you're a PC gamer. But this really isn't, for me personally, this isn't a surprise. Most people will tell you that PC is always the way to play games. You're always going to have the ability to push things further than a console ever can. Because if you think about it, a console is nothing more than a dumbed down computer with its own operating system.
That's streamlined to play video games.
Right, exactly. So you're always going to be able to do better on a computer if you have the materials necessary to push the hardware to its limit. And that's the thing. It's like the consoles are like $500, usually, or 600, somewhere around there. But if you really want to build a top of the line PC, you're stretching for about $5,000, and that's just like medium level. You can go higher than that. So it just depends on how much money you have and how much you are willing to put stuff together yourself. Like I said, PC gaming is worth it if you have the time and money to invest in it. But if you don't, you're probably better off with the consoles. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if it's getting to a point now where if you're going to spend money on something, and if you're just looking to spend a basic amount and be able to play with your friends, and you're a casual gamer, there is going to be no reason for you to not buy a console. But, I mean, for streamers and for people who are legitimately trying to get the most out of these video games and trying to, up their game the most, especially for competitive gamers, as you can see a little while ago, it was talking about, it was showing the frames per second and the latency, that these new chips are going to be able to take the latency down so much lower than they were before, and what that's going to mean to even stuff like accuracy when you're aiming down a scope in a video game. I mean, there are a lot of different practical means in which your gameplay is going to be enhanced. So,
Right.
I don't know if this is enough to, boot out the consoles or convince. I mean, listen, the price point alone, it's going to be expensive because you could either spend $500 on one of the cards that's cheaper and it's more available to people, or just get a whole nother console. And then, by the way, that's also assuming that you have the know-how to put it in the computer, or that you're building your own PC. There's a lot that goes into it. The ease of access is still not there, in my opinion, to really take a big market share away from either of these consoles. And in my mind, that's good for these consoles. But then at the same time, if you are someone who has the means to do this, well, there's no reason why you wouldn't.
Right,
If you're able to do this, these computers and these chips are just so powerful that what you're going to be able to do with them, I mean, you're really talking about developers being able to, essentially teleport you to another world, like a believable world that looks incredible, that you're in, that you're a part of. And as we move towards the technological singularity, if anyone knows any of that, I mean, it's starting to blur the lines between reality and the digital reality. And as you're starting to see with some of these graphics and what these games can do now, I mean, stuff like this it seems like a small jump to us, maybe, or maybe I'm downplaying how big of a jump it is, but it's one of those things where if you understand all of these. So, both Jeffrey and I went to college to learn to make games. And, we had to learn about cell shading and ray tracing and all these different things. And when you know how it matters to the game, you understand how power like this gives so much more access to developers to create these incredible worlds that wouldn't have been able to be made otherwise. So, if anything, it gives me hope that it's expanding what's possible for the people that are continuing to make these experiences that we love so much. I mean, even look at that right there. Like, that's in 3D, and it's like this.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Artwork, like, it's absolutely incredible what they're going to be able to do, and the artistic value of this is just, it's next level.
Yeah. If I can put in another 2 cents,
Sure.
something I also thought of. Because a lot of these games are being developed for both the PC and the consoles, it does make me wonder, at least right now, because like I said, 8K is in its infancy. Most people are just now moving to 4K as it is.
Right.
With 8K being in its infancy, with all this, I do wonder how much or how much time developers are actually going to spend pushing these things to their limits. If, say, for example, they have to port something over to the console, wouldn't you just... Because typically what happens with these games is, to make porting easier, they just use the same specs as the console game on the PC. So, it does make me think, it's probably going to be a few months at least, if not 2 years or so, before the technology in these chips becomes commonplace enough for everybody to take advantage of it. I think you're going to see more scaled down things, unfortunately. And like I said, that has a lot to do with porting something over to a less powerful system, like a console, or maybe they don't know how the infrastructure works quite yet, because I'm sure it's different from what they've been working with. So it's just something to keep in mind. So don't expect these games to immediately come out and look, unbelievably fantastic.
Right.
There's going to be growing pains with this, and yeah, it's going to look better, but it's not going to be a humongous jump, at least not yet. everything kind of needs to be normalized first.
Yeah, I mean, you make a
So,
great point. I mean, all these games are developed with consoles in mind, just because for the most amount of people, it's more a console is more readily available than someone who's able to go and build their own PC and
right.
buy a $1,500 chip. Which is what I alluded to before. And yeah, so you do make a great point. Like until the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X is able to do this, which it doesn't seem now like they. Wow, but what a way to steal your momentum, huh? Before the consoles even come out, this comes out and it shows
Yeah.
like almost already how outdated the technology is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I mean, that's how fast technology is moving. And I mentioned
Exactly.
the technological singularity. Like that's what it is, man. Eventually, you're not going to be able to keep up with it. But you do
Hmm.
make a good point in that the PC is always on the cutting edge of things. So
Hmm.
unless you have games that are specifically designed for a PC and to utilize all the power of these chips, you're not really going to see the full brunt of what it's able to do. However, it
Hmm.
does seem like whatever games you're going to play, it's definitely going to increase the frame rate, the
Definitely. Yeah.
definition. I mean, it's really going to. I mean, it's not going to make it look like a whole nother game, but you
No.
even saw for a minute there they were showing
Death Stranding, right?
Death Stranding, and they're zoomed in on his pack. And while it's moving, it's hard to read the tampered and all the different lettering on his pack. But then in the DLS 4K, you're able to see it much more clear. It's a
Mhm.
lot smoother. So yeah, I mean, this is what you're talking about. You're essentially buying this for that extra level of clarity, which it is a luxury. This isn't required to be able to
Right.
play. You're going to be able to play them and beat them just fine. You don't have to play them like this, but if you have the money to do so, then yeah, it is a nice boost to these games that we've already been playing and having fun with.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of technical jargon that goes into
There
this.
is, and I didn't want to, bug everybody down with that because not everybody that watches this show is gonna understand all the inner workings. But basically, I mean, if you have the money, and you're used to building your own systems, I mean, go for it. This is what you're gonna do anyway. Um, so, I mean, in the long run, I think it's worth it. But if you're a short term gamer, or if you happen to be a gamer with disabilities, as you and I both are, uh, you know, obviously, I think the consoles, at least in terms of price point, is a lot more feasible, and
Yeah.
there are ways to work around your disability on the consoles. I mean, you've got button reassignments, you've got your quad stick. Um, you know, there's ways to figure stuff out. Um, but yeah, it really depends, and like you said, it's a luxury, not not a necessity. So it depends. With no other better way to put it, it depends on how much of a graphics whore you are.
Yeah.
Really,
Well, and I do
in ter-
think, and you and I have mentioned this before, Jeffrey. If you have a Microsoft computer, which most computers are, like it was
right.
just showing Cyberpunk 2077 right there. Like,
Hmm.
if you have a souped up computer and you're one of the people that can afford these things, why would you buy an Xbox?
Yeah, you
Why would you
wouldn't.
buy an Xbox at all? You wouldn't buy an
Yeah,
Xbox. If I can play Cyberpunk with enhanced graphics and frame rate and latency, man, if I'm able to play it like that, then there's no reason for me to pick up an Xbox, especially if I'm going to be able to buy them and play them on the computer. And
well,
yeah, go
that's the
ahead.
interesting thing too, is that the Series X, the Xbox Series X, is going to be graphically, and I believe even performance wise slightly better than the PS5. So again, you're gonna have. I mean, you won't have this technology inside of it. Forget that. But it is going to be, slightly stronger than the PS5. But again, that just depends on how much graphics and that kind of stuff really mean to you. Because, like you said, you can play most of these things on a PC. So if you have the means to play it on PC, there really is no reason to get an Xbox Series X. which is something you and I have talked about at length
Right.
before with their press conferences and stuff. But this kind of stuff is only confirming uh, my issue. Like I don't mind, you know, different consoles having different infrastructures. Like we said at the beginning of the show, I have a Nintendo Switch, but you don't play that for graphics, you play that for the games. And ultimately, I think it comes down to games and gameplay. And if you have a souped up PC, I'm just, man, every time I think about Xbox, I feel really sorry for them because I want the console to succeed. But like you said, I just don't see, I don't see the point.
That is a pretty thing that they're showing off right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks nice. It looks sleek. Apparently, it's
Yeah,
supposed
that's what I was gonna say. It even looks sleek.
it's supposed to be
looks
up to 3
badass.
times quieter. Apparently,
Yeah.
the air and the oscillation is going to be way crazier too. Let me ask you this, Jeffrey. Does this mean, here we are talking about Microsoft, but does this mean anything for Sony? Like one of the things, I mean, and you did mention it, we do know that technically the Xbox Series X is going to have more horsepower than the PlayStation 5, but you and I reported on the speculation that according to some developer that the PlayStation 5 is actually struggling to run games in 4K. Again, these claims are unsubstantiated, but apparently it's from a source who is in the industry and is currently making video games. And they were saying that porting the games over is more difficult, which is something that we heard around the time of the PlayStation 3. But also the fact that, if now we have these incredible graphics chips that we're seeing now, these graphics cards, does this mean anything for Sony? Like, what does this move anything to them or away from them? Or I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I think in the beginning, it might. PlayStation has always been kind of strange with the chipsets that they use. They're not universal. This is something that's been going on since the original PlayStation, actually. So yeah, it's not going to be as easy for a developer to pivot something from the PC to the Xbox Series X because it is, they're basically working on a very similar framework, whereas the PS5 is working off its own little thing. But the thing is, that stuff gets figured out, and once it gets figured out, it's not so much of a deal. Because my thing is, these consoles, regardless, like any console when it first comes out, is going to have growing pains. So things aren't going to run very smoothly, I would imagine, for a few months as various developers try to figure out how to take advances of these consoles. And I do believe the PS5 is going to struggle for a little while.
Struggle
But the
how?
same thing
How do you think when you say struggle? What do you mean when you say it?
I'm afraid that the chipset that's in there, which I don't want to go into a whole thing about, but I'm afraid that a lot of the stuff that they have shown has been mainly focused on the solid state drive, which makes the games faster, of course. But both consoles are going to have those. But we haven't really gotten a look at like frame by frame data. We see that it's faster, of course, but there's there's no indication of pushing the chipset to its limit and what it can handle. And I'm a little bit afraid. Whereas the Xbox, at least the interior of it, is a little bit more understandable to people because it's basically the inside of a computer. Whereas these chipsets for the PS5 are running on their own little schematic. So
Yeah.
I'm worried that there's going to be to put it in layman's terms, I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of screen tearing. I'm afraid there's going to be a lot of hiccups here and there. I'm afraid there's going to be I expect some hard system crashes. for a little while, uh, just as developers try to get a handle on how to program properly.
That would
Um,
be absolutely nuts if it's that kind. If it's to that problem where it's like crashing their system. Like, dude, that's crazy to me if it does get to that point. Now, again, who knows if it will? And again, it's speculatory right now,
right.
based on how real these things are. But
Yeah, and I mean it's I mean the PS4 does that now, right? Like you'll
yeah,
accidentally do something and an error will pop up. Like errors are nothing new for consoles or PC. I'm just saying like expect these errors because I guarantee you, and I'm talking on both systems. There's gonna be I don't want to say they're gonna be outrageous, but there's gonna be quite a few as the developers try to get their software to work. That's all I'm saying. And I think it's going to be slightly worse on the PS5 just because of the infrastructure.
yeah, and
So just prepare for that.
one of the main selling points of this whole press conference is what's been playing on the screen right here, is the 3080 RT is going to be much cheaper than the previous 1080i and much more powerful. So again,
Hmm.
it's not quite accessible enough yet
Right.
to be able to really, in my opinion, take a slice out of a legitimate part of the market share that Sony
Hmm.
and Microsoft are both vying for. However, I do commend Nvidia because they are
Oh, yeah.
trying to make these incredible graphics cards and make this RTX 30 series as powerful and as affordable as possible. And
Right.
you do have to commend them for that. And again, especially if you're a huge video game nerd and you're into building your own PC and doing that kind of stuff, I mean, man, this is a dream come true for you. And then also, it showed earlier, but you're going to be able, I mean, even for people like us who are streaming different things, it's going to be even better for that as well. It's not just for video games, it's going to be for people who, I mean, essentially people who make their living online, either around video
Right.
games or on streaming in different kinds of ways. There is really no reason why you wouldn't move to this. And it is commendable that they are trying to make this kind of power more accessible and readily available for lots of different people. I think it's
Yeah.
cool. I mean, all the graphics and everything do look incredible. But again, we're gonna have to see what kind of impact it's actually gonna have. Do you know
Yep.
when they're set to come out, or
I do not actually. Um, I was hoping maybe it's at the end of the conference. Yeah, I'm not a as y'all know, I'm not a PC gamer, so um, but I was hoping they would actually like show a date.
dude, those
I
chairs
don't
are
know.
so dope.
Yeah,
They're so cool. I
yeah.
imagine that, that'd be just to be able to sit down and have the screens around you on all sides while you're just sitting there
Oh, dude.
chilling. That's dope.
Yeah,
And another selling point here is they've mentioned is that the 390? Yeah, okay, so that's the big behemoth. Like, really, the
that's the big
biggest,
guy.
yeah, the biggest selling points coming out of this were I mean, really, it was the 370 and the 380 just for the price point.
Hmm.
But this, nah, they're making you pay for.
Yeah,
You're gonna pay for the 390. But yeah, this is $1,500, and
yeah.
that's the most expensive one. The other two, it looks like it's gonna be between $500 to $700 something, which of
Right,
course is pricey, but they have to make their return, and it is a bit of a discount. Um,
right.
yeah, 8K, man.
8K, dude. I can't even. I'm still gaming on a 1080p TV. So, uh, and we just now recently got a 4K television for our family room. So, like, I can't even imagine 8K right now, as far as how all that works. But I'm trying to see if they had
Adam Sessler.
date. But oh yeah, Adam Sessler was
Yeah, he
there.
was one
Like
of the 4 people they invited to test it out. Dude, if you're an old gamer nerd like me, Adam Sessler's from X Play,
X Play,
yeah,
dude.
from
Yeah,
G4, back to
yeah,
Tech TV days. Yeah, man. But it is cool, man. I'm just excited to see the technology jump, to finally be
me too.
experiencing this and like going through it and see how these games are gonna look and play. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool, man. It's exciting times.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, because we're on the crust of having, you know, this kind of technology, whether you're talking about the consoles or the PC, uh, it really is, you know, a new generation. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much more the PC can push things. Um, because eventually the consoles are going to get there, you know, and then the PC is going to be ahead again and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. But I was trying to find an actual. I don't know if this is just I mean, let's see, RTX 30.
They might say it at the end here.
Accessories. Um, Sorry, we're a little
No release dates.
no release dates.
No.
Let me type in release date on Google very quickly. See, oh, September 17th.
Oh, that's this month. Holy shit.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it says right here. The GeForce RTX 30 series graphics card will go on sale starting September 17th. That
Cool.
is crazy.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean,
Hell, I mean, PC gamers are going to be way ahead of us even before our consoles come out. Jesus. Okay.
yeah.
All right. I call that a win for Nvidia and for PC gaming in general.
And if you're already a PC gamer, you know, instead of buying,
Yeah, dude.
yeah, you know, I mean, you're not gonna buy a new console anyway. But now
No,
you
no,
can
no.
spend that money if you have it on, you know, a brand new graphics card.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, we have knocked out another episode of the Cripple Connection podcast. Damn it, we're rolling, Jeffrey. Man, why don't you tell
Yep.
these people how they can find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at JeffroRed, so that's JEFFRORED. And for anyone who does, I've been bitching about the Avengers game lately, so you've probably seen a lot of that. So just be prepared for that if you go to look me up, because I've been on a tantrum about that. But
Yeah, we could have talked about that today. I
no,
didn't.
no,
I didn't play, and you decided to cancel your pre-order.
yes,
Which apparently it's
uh,
looking like a good thing that you did, because the reviews are in, and oh my god, they're not looking good. But also you said you watched a walkthrough of it, and you weren't very impressed with what you saw.
no, definitely not. So I'm sorry for anyone who's a fan of that game who might be following me, but my tantrum is calmed. So you can hit me up and talk about video games or books, movies, whatever the hell you want. So yeah,
Absolutely, and you can find me on Twitter, as I mentioned previously, at CodyLac, CodyLac. You can find me every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. on the C3 Carolina Cat Chronicles podcast with my man Tony Dunn, Codezo Allen, and my man Greg the Bat Daddy. And every Saturday at 4, you can catch another edition of the Cripple Connection podcast. That's it for us today. Until next time, peace and love.
peace and love, guys. Happy birthday, Mario.
Happy birthday, Mario.
Oh wow, that was good.
Oh, was it? Oh, thanks. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Peace and love, everyone.